never leave behind. What got you through the struggle or what got you through the grind? It's on the rise.
Hey. So, today I've come back with a nice little story time for you. This story time is going to be about my very first relationship. So, this was back in the day, and this happened when I was 15 turning 16. So, I met this guy on Facebook, and I actually met him before because when I was a freshman in high school, he was a senior. So I had seen him around because he was on the football team. So I had knew him, and he actually dated one of my friends briefly, but I didn't like go into talking to him thinking like, oh yeah, I'm gonna take her ex. Like, no. I just added him on Facebook because I'm like, oh, I know that guy. So back in those days of Facebook, I guess my phone number was visible or something. Like, why? I have no idea. So he had called me and I was like, who's this? And he was like, you just added me on Facebook. Don't I know you from school? And I was like, yeah, and you also dated my friend. And he was like, oh yeah, like we did date, but she had lied about her age, so they had broke up. So I was like, oh, that's awkward. So we were talking on the phone, and like we literally talked on the phone for like a good 7-8 hours, just like talking about everything under the sun. So that was cool, I guess. And I was kind of excited because no one had ever really been interested in me like that, because, you know, when I was 16, we were not the best of looking, kind of chunky, you know, just a lot of nastiness going on. So we had said that we were going to hang out the next day, and that was going to be our first date or hangout or whatever. So I met up with him after I got out of school, and you know, everything was cool, you know, typical first relationship stuff, I guess. And for the first 6 months, I'd say our relationship was pretty on point, you know, nothing to complain about or anything like that. And yeah, so the first 6 months were great. And then after the 6 months, that's when we started getting into problems. So even though it was my first relationship, I feel like even for a 16-year-old, I was like really more mature than a lot of other 16-year-olds who might be in their first relationship and really naive to what guys may do in a relationship to you. So I already was hip to the games. So I'd say at the 6-month mark, that's when he had told me that he had cheated with his ex-girlfriend. So I was like, that's fine. So we broke up, and then we later got back together like a few weeks later because that happens. And we continued to date, you know, I'd say like 3 more months after that. Then he had cheated again. And this was like a reoccurring thing, like he would cheat, you know, we'd break up, then get back together, cheat, you know, blah, 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 continue. And I'd say things got really, really bad probably when I was about 16 turning 17. Yeah, 16 turning 17, yeah. Because it was my senior year in high school. And no, junior year going to senior year, yeah. So it was my junior year in high school, and he loved to partake in smoking things, and I didn't agree with that whatsoever because I'm like, why are you doing stuff like that? Like, it's not cool. Like, you shouldn't be doing stuff like that. You're risking your freedom. So I told him, I was like, you know, you really need to get your life together and stop dealing with this stuff. I was like, you know, you're really talented, and he was an amazing cook, naturally, you know, just amazing in the kitchen. So I said, you know, you should go to culinary arts school, you know, get a degree in that, and take a few business classes, open up your own restaurant. Like, that's what you're naturally good at. So you wouldn't even have to worry about doing this nonsense. So, you know, we got in tons of arguments about that because he just like wouldn't listen. And then before we had started dating, he had been on like probation and whatnot, so he had to take regular piss tests. So I was like, whatever, it's none of my business. And then he had to take a piss test one morning, and the evening of that same day I told him, I want to check out this pizza place. So he was like, okay, cool. And like every day he would pick me up from school, and he would be parked by this one tree every day, never late. As much as we would argue and he would get on my nerves and stuff like that, every day he was always on time. So we had those plans, and I got it at school, and I was like looking around, didn't see the car, so I was like, okay. So I called him and he didn't answer, so I was like, whatever. So I just left and went with my friends to the same pizza place. So probably like halfway into like being there, hanging out, having fun and stuff like that, I was just about to take a bite of my delicious slice of cheese pizza. And then I get a phone call from a weird number. And it's like, hello, you have a call from... And it's not funny, but like, you have a call from bleep bleep, number 69, whatever number it was. And then he answers and he's crying on the phone, and I'm like, where are you? And he's like, I'm in jail. And I'm like, I know you're joking. I was like, what happened? He was like, he allegedly had a warrant out for his arrest that he didn't know, and they took him into custody, and he didn't know when he was getting out. So later on I found out that this was a lie, even though he really did get locked up, but the reasoning behind it was he never told me until a letter that he wrote me later on down the line. So when this all happened, this was going to be near September, because I was turning 17, and I was excited because in October, like during the football game season, the alumni come, and then when you're a couple or whatever, or date the football player, you wear their jersey, all this cutesy nonsense or whatever. I was excited because I never had been in that situation before. So this all happened during that time, so I was like, great, and I can't even go to the football game with my boyfriend at the time. So that kind of bothered me, but I mean, it's life, it is what it is. So while he was in jail, like, I wrote him letters, sent him pictures, I always called his mom and his sisters to make sure they were okay, and like his grandmother would like bring me the letters and then like take my letters and give them to him and stuff, so I wouldn't have to mail them myself. And it just was really difficult, especially those 1 minute long conversations. That is the worst possible situation that you could possibly be in. I absolutely hated it. So one day, I think we're now in December, so he was in there for a few months, and I got a phone call from his mom's cell phone. So I was thinking, okay, hi Mrs. so and so, and he was like, hello, and I was looking at the phone like, who is this? And he was like, yeah, I just got out. And I was like, how? And he was like, because he had a good lawyer or whatever the case was. So he asked me to come see him, and I didn't really know if I wanted to come see him or not, because I just wasn't in the mood. And previously, before he had called, probably like 2 weeks beforehand, the last letter that he sent me was pretty much saying, how much he loved me and how he's so sorry and he wants to get his life together, and that he lied to me because the reason why he got locked up was because he knew that he had a piss test, like I said, and he smoked the morning before, and for whatever reason he thought that he was invincible and wasn't going to get locked up or whatever, because I guess he slid past a different piss test or something like that and got lucky, and this time it just so happened that his luck ran out. So I didn't respond to that letter because I'm like, you have me sitting here crying and upset and worried about you, and you sat here and lied. Like, are you serious? So I was like, I'm done. So he got out, and then a few days later he kept blowing up my phone, so I was like, fine, I'll see you, whatever. So we hung out. Obviously, we continued dating because I was like, oh, he's probably going to change. Things are going to be different, blah, blah, blah. Same old story. and it wasn't any different whatsoever. So we dated, and then as things continued on, like, I realized he wasn't going to change. He was still dibbling and dabbling in the nonsense that he was in, and I still was not for that. And he ended up moving out of his mom's house, and he moved in with his friend, unnamed, and she was a girl. She looked like a bag of laundry mixed with a hippo. And later on, I found out that was actually one of his exes, but like a long time ago. Like, not the ex he had cheated with, like some exes before that. So I was like, okay. So I had asked him, I was like, are y'all messing around or whatever? Because I'm like, if you are, we're done. Because, like, you either need to move out or do something else. Because this isn't working with you living with one of your exes. Like, what do you mean? So we got in a few arguments and stuff like that. And, like, the thing with our arguments, like, we'd argue, not talk for a day, and then talk the next day, and everything's fine. So that's pretty much what happened with this situation. But when we had started talking again, he had called me, and then he was like, I cheated, was saying that he cheated, and I was like, okay. I was like, well, we're done then, because I'm not going to keep going back and forth with you. At this time, I think I was like, 17 turning 18, yeah, so the following year. And I was like, I'm not trying to deal with your nonsense, like, just leave me alone. So then he had called me a month after that, because I was like really done, washed my hands of the situation. And then he tells me that the girl is pregnant, and I was like, okay, that's fine. So with this situation, like, after he told me that, like, I just broke down in tears, because I was like, after all we've been through and the amount of time. Okay, so sorry about that. My battery died, and I had to switch to another one. So yeah, I think I got into the part where, got the girl pregnant. Yes, he did. And then he called me a week later, and then he had said, oh, I need money for her abortion. What? No, sir. That's not gonna happen over here. Not today, not ever. So I told him, I was like, absolutely not. Like, leave me alone. Like, that's all you. Goodbye. So after that situation, I was done. I stayed single for a while. Then I started dating someone else and whatnot. So with my first ex, he always calls from random time to time or whatever. And a year after we had been broken up, he called me and he was like, I really want to sit down with you and apologize for, all the things that I've done, and how, like, I pretty much ruined your whole first dating experience. So I was like, sure, why not? Breakfast, I love a good meal. So I was like, sure, but I was just like, leave me alone, because he tried to, like, say things like he, still in love with me, so wants to date me, he'll never love someone like me, blah, 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 don't really care. And I was just like, it's too little too late. Like, you should have got your life together before you were doing these things with this hippo. Like, are you serious? And he would text me things and, all that nonsense, pretty much what I just said. And his baby moms read those text messages, and then she was like, I wish I never would have slept with you. Like, you should have just stayed with her from the beginning. And that I know you're never going to love me the way that you love her. And, like, that's messed up. And I was like, it's messed up that you slept with my boyfriend at the time. Like, what do you mean? Like, you think that that's okay? So I remember a few years back, like, I had seen her at the mall, and she was like mean mugging me, and I was just looking at her like, someone still hasn't lost that baby weight. Boop. So I was like, leave me alone. And then even today, because now we're in 2016, I'd say 2015 in the beginning of the year, and even in January 2016, but back in 2015, he'll call me from different numbers or text me and be like, hey, do you want to go to a concert? Like, No, I don't want to go to your ratchet ass concert with Khalifa wannabe people. Like, no, thank you. Like, just leave me alone. I don't understand. Like, why do you feel the need to keep bothering me? And he'll always say, yeah, I'll kill a nigga for you, blah, blah, I love you, girl. I don't want to hear none of it. Just zip your lip. I don't care. Give all that attention to your child and your baby mama. Like, are you serious? And then the funny thing is, karma. After he had told me that he had got the girl pregnant, back in the day, literally a week after, he had called me and told me that he had fell down a hill and broke his whole left leg. Won't he do it, Lord? Yes, he will. Like, I was just like, karma is something. Karma is really something. Because what are the odds that a hill that you've probably been climbing your whole life, you fall and break your whole entire left leg? I was thrilled. So, I mean, that's bad. But I really don't care. Like, whatever. That's his fault. So, I mean, it is what it is. After that relationship, I was definitely an angry person. Didn't trust guys for a while because I was just over being hurt and lied to. I was like, anything you gotta say, just save it. Because I can definitely say the next guys that I was with definitely got played for sure. Like, I didn't care about their feelings whatsoever. I just like used them, which is sad, Obviously, now me being older, I know that it's, bad. But I mean, hey, it's a part of my story and I learned from it. So, it is what it is. So, yeah. That concludes this story time. Definitely like it if you enjoyed this video. And if you guys have your own first relationship, first date stories that you'd like to share, definitely comment down below. And once again, if you guys enjoyed this video, definitely subscribe. And I'll see you guys in my next video. So you guys have a great day. Bye.
Instead of getting caught up in these politics, makes you want to question where a lot of people's knowledge is. I guess